that I didn't connect with them. I felt like when I connected with people at EY and I built those relationships, I didn't feel like I wanted to explore others. I think it's doable, but I can also know that it's challenging for people to pass it on their first attempt.
We have Sharon Onuma on our podcast today. She is a tax senior manager at EY. So Sharon, besides being as a tax senior manager at EY, can you please introduce a little bit about yourself?
Yes, of course. Hi, everyone. I'm Sharon Onuma, like Rosie said. I have been working in public accounting my entire career, which has been about 11 years now. And prior to that, I went to the University of Maryland. I majored in accounting and information systems, and I pursued my CPA after that. And I'm a mom. I have a daughter. She's 3 years old. And it's just an exciting time to be a mom and working and balancing work and life. So it's fun times. That's a
Wow,
little
and
bit
you
about
are,
me.
yes, and you are in Texas now, but you are from Maryland, right?
Correct. Yes. So I live in Maryland and work out of the EY Virginia office, but currently I'm visiting family in Texas.
Oh, that's a perfect weather now in Texas because in Maryland it's probably very cold now.
Yes, it is. The weather is much nicer here for sure.
Ooh, enjoy that before you coming back to Maryland.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so your
will.
daughter must be missing you a lot.
My daughter came with me, so she's here with me visiting family. Yeah, we came together.
Ooh, so that's cool. That's nice. So
Hmm.
she can enjoy some warm weather in Texas as well.
Yes, for
Yeah.
sure.
So Sharon, I'm very happy to have you on my podcast today and to discuss about your CPA journey with my audience. First and foremost, Sharon, can you just share with us why did you choose accounting major at the very beginning when you start college?
Yeah, of course. My story is, I want to say it's kind of interesting or strange, but when I was in high school, I was reading a novel, a fictional book. It was John Grisham. It's called The Firm. And so in that book, there was a person who was an attorney and also a CPA, and he was helping like the mob, like the mafia, with like money laundering and like things like that. And I was just so fascinated by how could someone like have this opportunity to do something so complex like money laundering and not get caught. And that's just because he was a CPA and an attorney. I was like, wow, that's so interesting. Like if someone could do something illegal, maybe I could get my accounting degree, get my CPA and do something legal and like help businesses work better, help businesses be more efficient in the tax structure. And so that's what introduced me to the concept of accounting and tax specifically. And so when I went into college, I went in with the idea that I wanted to pursue accounting and maybe go to law school. And then during that time, I got exposed to the Big Four and exposed to the idea of public accounting. And I liked the idea of actually practicing fully as an accountant, being a CPA and practicing in public accounting until I pursued that path. So that's my story of how I pursued accounting.
That's interesting. It's from a book that you read about illegal stuff, and now you want to be a CPA to do legal stuff.
Correct. Yes, in a nutshell, yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. It's just like when you tell me like, oh, how can this person doing all of this illegally? And I was like, wow, I hope she's going to the right direction after reading that book. But I'm glad you're going to very right direction now, showing that you spent so many years in EY and become a tax senior manager at EY. That's very
Yeah.
impressive. When you were in college, I believe that you probably went through a lot of interviews for internship, and it knows that you got accounting intern before you got an internship at EY, right?
Maryland is, I want to say, has a top business school. University of Maryland has top business school. So we have a ton of like big four firms recruiting from the University of Maryland. We also have mid-tier firms also recruiting from the University of Maryland. So I had a ton of options and I did pretty well with my GPA. So I had a ton of these firms that I had the options of interviewing with. But during that time, I made a lot of connections with people at EY. I built relationships with people who were currently interning and working there full time. And I just liked the culture of what they offered. And so when I interviewed with them and got an internship with them, and I interned with EY before I started full time, I enjoyed my internship. I enjoyed the mentoring and the coaching that I got. And so I decided to accept the full-time offer after my internship. But yeah, the process started from college. I did an internship and then I went full-time with EY.
So you mentioned that you start building connection and relationship with EY when you were in college. How did you do it as a student?
So a lot of these big four firms, and that's a great question. A lot of these big four firms, and even till today, because I work heavily with recruiting, a lot of these firms would go to campus. They have events, and typically they would have like professionals just like me, like attend these events for the sole purpose of meeting students, connecting with students, sharing our experience in public accounting. And during that time, I met people who were willing to share their experience, people who were willing to invest in me, pour into me. It's funny because I'll share a story about my CPA journey later if that comes up, but it was someone at EY who actually helped me like plan out my CPA studying path. Like, okay, this is how you should study for the exam. This is how many months you could need. And I thought such investment pretty early on in my career were helpful. And I just met them because I would go to all the open houses. I would go to the events EY had. And when I met these people, I would introduce myself. I'll ask them questions about their career. I'll ask them questions about what they were doing. And so that's just how the relationships formed very organically, I would say.
That's interesting when you mention about EY only. What about Deloitte, KPMG, PwC? Did you connect with them and you couldn't feel like there's a strong connection with those big four firms?
It's not that I didn't connect with them. I felt like when I connected with people at EY and I built those relationships, I didn't feel like I wanted to explore others, right? I felt like this was working well. So like building relationships, like, it takes time. It's a two-way street. It takes time and getting to know someone, being vulnerable, sharing more about yourself, asking questions. And I was like, okay, I met my people here. I'm just going to like stay and just keep building with this firm. Like I didn't really like explore as much with the other firms. Not to say that the other firms were not good, but I just didn't pursue that path just because I felt like I'd met a lot of people at EY who were great.
So it's like, oh, I'm happy with this path now. I'm not going to try different things. That's
Yeah,
that's pretty
just
cool because it sounds like you are royal with them.
I
That's
was just
great to see that.
yeah, I was also just trying to be like efficient, right, with my time as a college student. Like, you don't have a lot of time between like classes and like studying for finals, studying for your exam, networking, and all of this. Like, I didn't want to spread myself too thin, right? I still wanted to at least do my part of building relationships, but I didn't want to like exert myself too much that then I'm like so overwhelmed and not having enough time for my education.
Wow, you already had all that knowledge, like skills about time management as a student. That's pretty impressive.
I kind of think of myself like as a very typical type A person. And I'm also like, I guess, a Virgo. Like, I'm very analytical. So I've always been like a planner. I've always been very organized, very meticulous about my time and managing my time. So I think that has came pretty natural to me very early on.
That's super, super helpful to be an accountant. I could say that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Like, yeah, no, that's true. Because right now we're in the business of like managing clients, working with a ton of teams, having a lot of deadlines. So it definitely helps to be super organized, super time sensitive, and just knowing how to manage your time accordingly.
Yeah, I love that. I wish I could have that skills when I was a student. I was at all over places. I wanted to do so many things and ended up to be so exhausted because I didn't know what I should do, what I should not do. I just end up doing everything. And so that's how you exhaust yourself so quickly. So
Yeah,
yeah,
for
I really
sure.
like how you focus your time on EY, take advantage of it. It's a two-way street. And so you get the internship and then you got also the full-time job offer after the internship as well. I think that's a really great way to invest your time and invest
Yes.
in yourself as well. You mentioned about the CPA journey. I'm so curious because you also have a YouTube channel about
Yes.
sharing
Yeah.
about CPA exam experience as well. Tell us
Yeah. Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I have a YouTube channel called the CPA Experience where I share with like aspiring CPAs how to plan for the CPA, how to stay focused while you're studying, and how to just like motivate yourself throughout that studying timeline. And like I would always say, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Like it takes time, it takes effort, but with dedicated effort with focused attention, you can get through with the goal. And I started that channel because I did a lot of work with the AICPA throughout my career. Once I started working in public accounting, I was introduced to the AICPA, and I did a lot of work with them. And I realized a lot of people during my time working or volunteering with the AICPA would ask me, how did you study? How did you pass? And I would share usually how I studied and how I passed, but it was to students on a one-off basis when I meet them. And I thought to myself, well, I know a lot of people have these questions. Well, why don't I just create a channel and put that information on my channel so that way it can live there and people can have access to it over time. And that's how I started the channel. And then I eventually went on to just bring in more people to share their different experiences, because my one experience is unique to me, and there's so many different paths of how people have studied and how people have taken the exam. So the idea was, well, if I can just showcase different ways that people have studied, different ways that people have taken the exam and passed, it could help be inspirational for people who were currently on that journey. And so that was the birth of that channel, and that's how it started.
Oh my God, that's exactly the same how I start my channel. Because I went to classes and then they asked me exactly the same question. And I was like, what if I just make a video and everyone can just watch it for the same question, for the same answer? So
Yeah.
exactly the starting point where we start at the same reason.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, that's really how I started.
Exactly. And you mentioned about sharing experience about how to motivate yourself for the CPA exam and how you study, how you pass the CPA exam. Can you just share with us few tips and advice how you study and how you pass for the CPA exam and how you motivate yourself if you do not pass in the first time?
Okay, so what I would say, maybe I'll give a backstory of how I even had the idea of taking the CPA. So when I started accounting, I knew that you could study accounting and just like not get the CPA, right? Or you could study accounting and pursue the CPA and become certified in your profession. And that's a certification that's very well respected. And I knew that that's the path I wanted to go through. I didn't want to like spend all these years studying accounting and not get the certification that will solidify me in the profession. And so I knew that path. And so during my time at Maryland, I was meeting people, meeting professionals, and I would typically just ask them, well, hey, how did you study? Like, what would you recommend? And so it was during that time I met someone at EY actually who helped me like think through like how to plan out my studying. So she told me that since you're graduating in May, you could actually just start studying once you graduate and take all four parts before your offer starts in October. And so I literally met her. I came with a calendar and she helped me map out like my studying plan for June, July, August, September. So I studied for 4 months before I started working in October, and I passed all four during that period. I guess I share this story because it was someone else who gave me that example, who made me think that it was even possible to study for all four parts, pass all four parts of my first attempt, and get it out of the way before I started working full time. So I wanted to share that example with people as well. And then I guess to say how exactly did it work for me, I think start having a plan was really helpful. It's helped me stay grounded, because with the calendar I could see, okay, well, this is how much I needed to study, this is where I needed to spend my time, and this is when I've already scheduled for an exam. So I had a visual of like, okay, I needed to study X amount of hours, get through X amount of chapters so I could be prepared for an exam on X date. So if I could leave anyone here with one nugget, I would just say, make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have an idea of exactly how you want to tackle the CPA. And it could be as simple as, okay, I want to take FAR. I only have 2 hours after work every day. Well, how do you want to spend those 2 hours after work? How do you want to spend your weekends? Like actually plan out what you want to do, how you want to study each section, and just take it one step at a time, because it's little steps and you'll be done in no time.
I like it. I think when I studied for my CPA exam, I literally had a timetable. I scheduled up to minute, not to hour, up to minute. From this time to
Really?
this time, I'm going to study. From this time to this time, I'm going to shower. And from this time to this time, I'm going to eat for dinner. Like extremely detailed, specific timeline, how to prepare for the CPA exam. But even with that details, it still took me 3 times to pass audit. So it's pretty impressive that for you or for anyone who can pass the CPA exam, all 4 sections in the first time. I feel like, wow, you guys are amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think it's doable, but I can also know that it's challenging for people to pass it on their first attempt. Like, and I think that people should not be discouraged if they don't pass on their first attempt, because so many people don't pass on their first attempt. And the key is just making sure you go back, you figure out, okay, what did I do well with the sections that I did pass? And what can I improve on this section? How can I tweak my studying to be a little bit better, to address maybe like my weak points, and just don't get discouraged, right? Just make sure like you still keep that goal at the back of your mind of, oh, I want to pass the CPA, I want to become a CPA at the end of the day, and just keep pursuing that goal. It's funny because when I was studying, I had a whiteboard in my bedroom, and on the whiteboard I had like my name, comma CPA, because I would like wake up every day and like look at this and say, yeah, that's the vision. Like I want to like pass the exam so that I can have those 3 initials after my name. So something as simple as that, right, could just help you just keep the picture in the back of your mind, help you stay reminded on your goal, on your why, and just help you stay on track.
Oh my God, this is so funny when you mention about this. I just have a funny experience I would like to share with that. When I was in college, I wanted to be a member of this group so bad. It's like school organ government, something like that group.
Mm-hmm.
And so every year they have yearbook. And then at the end of the yearbook, they have picture of every single person in that government group.
Yeah.
Like is that school and government association, something like that. I
Yeah,
want to be
student
in that.
government. Yeah.
Yes, something, yes. So
Yeah.
I wanted to be in that group so bad that I use exactly the same theory. I shred that last page of the calendar book. I
Mm-hmm.
put it on next to my bed. So every day I wake up, I see exactly the same face.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I want to be in that group next year. I want to be in that group next year. So I did everything to make myself like so marketable, so active in the school in order to make it happen. And it's just so creepy. And at night when you wake up, the picture of weird like strangers just look stare at you.
Yeah. So did you end up like joining the group? Like, did you make it to the group?
No, I did not make to the group because it denied me because they told me that Rosie, you did so many other things. And I
Oh
was like,
no.
I was willing to stop doing every other things because I want to be in this group. But I was like, you are
Uh,
qualified to be in this group, but we do not see your time to work in this
yeah,
group.
because you were already doing a lot.
Oh
Oh
no, all
no.
the things that I was doing is just in order for me to be qualified for this group. And so
Yeah.
I still remember exactly that moment when they told me I walked downstairs and I couldn't hold my tears. And then one of my leaders, she knew how much I wanted it. And then so she literally came in and just said, Rosie, you okay? And I was like, yeah, that's fine. She's like, don't worry, you're doing a great job. I was like the president of 2 organizations at that time
Mm-hmm.
because I
Wow.
thought that I need to do a lot of leadership roles to be qualified to that government association group.
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, oh, anyway, out topic. Sorry, out the topic because you mentioned about putting your name with CPAs next to in your room. So I was like, that's so funny. That story just flashed back to my memories.
Yeah.
But I like it. I like it. That's exactly how you should do that. Think about the end picture, how it looked like when you achieve it. So every day when you do it, you say, yes, that's my motivation. I can do it. I'm going to study for this exam and I'm going to pass it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yep. And you also mentioned that having a plan, that I know that for a lot of CPA study material, they already have a very specific plan with
Mm-hmm.
the study material. Do you recommend students to use that plan, or do you recommend them to still reach out to someone else to assist them with like coming up with the plan?
I think it depends. I think it really does depend. If the standard plan that comes with your CPA study material is tailored to you and tailored to the way you study and how you think you're going to approach the study, so by all means follow that plan. But if you feel like it's not tailored to you, you have very unique, specific differences, and you want to do something more specific, I would say watch videos like mine, Rosie's. A lot of people share different tips on how they've studied, on how they've passed, on how they've managed their time, on how they've planned their studying. So that way you get an idea of how you can maybe take the foundation that was provided to you from those study materials and then tweak it a little bit to align with how you would study. I think that that's
Yeah.
what I would suggest.
So it means like being flexible. Know your study style. Know which
Yeah,
plan is the best for you, and then make some adjustments to match with your study schedule.
correct. Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. So people who listening to this podcast, make sure you check out Sharon's YouTube channel. What's the YouTube channel name again?
Yeah, if you go on YouTube and you just search for my name, Sharon Onuma, it should pop up.
Yep, check out her videos. I watched some of your videos and I really like it.
Thank
So
you.
that's amazing. And you mentioned that you passed all these 4 CPA sections before you start full-time job, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
How did you feel when you start the first
Oh.
job knowing that you already passed all these 4 sections?
I felt so liberated. I felt so free. I felt like I could just go into my career and just give my career my all. Like, because I really wanted to approach public accounting as a career, not as a job. I wanted to use it as an opportunity to keep growing myself because I really enjoyed accounting in college. I loved my classes. I loved intermediate accounting. I loved my tax class. And public accounting just provides you that foundation to keep learning, to keep growing, to work on multiple clients, different industries, different technical things. And I really wanted to take advantage of everything the firm wanted to offer. I wanted to go to the happy hours. I wanted to meet people. I wanted to network. I wanted to do the extra work. I wanted to say if there was additional work that wanted to be done, I wanted to say yes. I want to try. I want to do it. And I felt like having the CPA behind me or done really allowed me to really just throw myself into my career and just give it my all and really just take advantage of the opportunities that were provided to me. So yeah, it felt really liberating starting my career and not having to worry about the CPA.
I think that's one of the best feeling ever when if you doing an accounting profession, because someone told me that CPA is the highest standard in the accounting profession if you are accountant.
Yep.
And also, if you just get finished all 4 CPA sections, you have the bonus, right? When you start
Yeah.
the first year, you have
Which
the
was
big
nice.
bonus.
Yeah. The bonus for passing the exam. That was really nice. Yes.
Yes, that's amazing. And also, like, think about that as motivation as well. That you have all the bonus, and then you don't have to worry about the CPA exam, study for CPA exam while you start your first job. I feel like there's a huge benefit over there for someone who's going to graduate. Think about passing the CPA exam first before you start a full-time job. That's a really great plan. And when you start the first job at EY, how did you feel about starting a full-time job comparing with working as an intern before that?
I was excited because with my internship, I think provided me with an idea of what to expect. Because like as an intern, you're going to work at a certain time and you leave at a certain time, which is typical of like a full-time job. Granted, you only do it for like 6 weeks. So at least I had like an expectation of like what people wear to work, what time people get into work, what your typical day would look like. And so when I started full time, I was excited to at least have that be my life and just experience it fully and not have the distraction of, okay, I'm going to stop now and then go back to school. So I was excited.
So when you had an internship at EY before, did you have an internship in tax and audit at the same time? Or you just have an internship in tax 100% time for tax only?
So I did 2 internships with EY. So 2 separate summers. And so the first summer I did something that was kind of like a rotational program where I could rotate between the different service lines. And then the next summer I chose to do tax. And then during that summer where I chose to do tax, I did tax the entire 6 weeks.
I see that you stay with tax in your whole career. So what is the best thing in tax that make you decide to stay in the whole career without trying, like maybe you may want to check if you like audit, if you like advisory, something like that?
I think the reason I chose tax was because I knew the service line at EY and the service line I currently work in. I actually do tax and I do audit as well. I help with auditing the tax provision of publicly traded companies. I also help publicly traded companies with, if they're not an EY audit client, I help them with preparing their tax provision. So in a sense, I still get to do tax technical work, which is like tax compliance, helping companies with their tax reporting and compliance with taxing authorities, namely the US federal and US states. I do that type of tax, which is compliance, preparing the forms, reviewing the forms. And then I also do tax accounting, which is GAAP, right? So I help with auditing the tax provision. So I chose tax because I really liked accounting and I really liked tax. And I was like, where can I really get the best of both worlds? Where can I still do both things? And tax was like the best bet because now I still do tax, I still do accounting, I still do a little bit of consulting, I would say, because like clients would typically come to you and say, hey, we are thinking about this type of like transaction, what would be the best way to structure this transaction. So we still do a lot of advisory type work and helping clients with like creating tax efficient structures and just thinking through tax efficient ways for their businesses. So I still get to do tax, I do consulting, I do accounting, and so I think it gives me such a well-rounded experience that I truly enjoy.
I like it I can see how your excitement when you share with me about tax experience, that how much you enjoy doing your work. And you mentioned before that you want this career. It's not just a job, it's your career. So you invest a lot in yourself, invest a lot in this career. Do not just like getting the job done and then go home and the next day do exactly the same cycle and over. So that's that exciting to see someone to share that all the energy, all the sparkling and excitement in every single thing you share about this. One thing I want to ask is that you moving from tax staff all the way to tax senior manager within
Yeah.
the same firm for last, I would say 11 years. Is that
Yeah,
right?
11
11 years?
years. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
So you have been going through a lot of milestones in your career. And each milestone probably give you a lot of feelings, a lot of different experience about like what's the next level, what the next step in my career. So let's go from very beginning, from tax staff, when you just start at EY. What did you learn the most before you become a tax senior?
I think as a staff, what I learned the most was just how the industry works, how public accounting works. Like what exactly are we here to do? At the simplest form, we're serving clients and we're building people. That's the simple thing that we do. We serve clients and help clients function better and we develop our people. And so I learned that that's really what the firm does. It's serving our clients and developing our people. And I was like, okay, I need to get really good at, well, how do I serve my clients well? And how do I develop my team well? So I was very particular about observing leaders that did a good job at both, at serving their clients well and pouring into the people so that the people develop well. And so over my career, you work with a ton of people and you just pick out different things that work well and you just build out your skill sets. I would say that's what I learned as a staff. Like, what really is this business I'm in?
Yeah, and so when you got promoted from staff to a senior, what did the most change? What did the most difference from the senior level to a staff level that you experienced?
So as a senior, you're now in a position where you now have a team, or at least you have a staff that you're coaching, right? So you're trying to mentor the staff and you're also reporting up to a manager. And in some instances, you also have interactions with the client. So you now have like maybe three different parties that you interact with on a regular basis. So your staff that you typically would help with teaching them, your manager who is expecting you to perform the work, and then sometimes your clients who might reach out to you for one-off questions. I would say that's a little bit different than being a staff. And so it helped to, at least from a staff level, it helped to have experience being a staff, to know what a day-to-day life is like for a staff, so that way I could properly coach my staff to, hey, this is how you should do the work. These are the things that you should watch out for. And that's how I approach my day as I guess my life as a senior.
So, and then you move from senior to manager. It's like a huge difference. I feel like from staff to senior, there's a difference there, but not that much. But
Mm-hmm.
from senior to manager, that's a huge jump there, because now you have to wear all different hats with managing staffs and also managing clients and also developing business, and anything come up will fall on your plate. So when you got promoted as a task manager, how did you deal with all new responsibilities on your plate?
I would say manager year was a little bit overwhelming for me because I felt like at that time, yeah, like you said, it's you have a lot on your plate. Now you have a team of not just only staff but of seniors, and even though you're still developing yourself technically and building yourself technically, you're also responsible for making sure your senior and your staff is developing technically as well. So passing down knowledge, making sure you're investing in them, investing in their learning, and then also you're now responsible to clients who can pick up the phone and call you, and so you have to at least be able to communicate what's going on in a concise and a technical manner because that's what they're paying for. They're paying for your service. And so you have to deliver the service in the best way possible. And also then you have the partners that are looking to you, have the senior managers looking to you. So it's like you said, it's a lot of hats that you wear and there's a lot of things that you have to think about and manage. And so it just kind of helps to be like, and with me, I've been very organized, but at that level, I felt like I really needed to hone in on being super organized because it helped to get through that level efficiently.
How did you stay so organized as a tax manager? Can you share with me a specific tips and advice for that organization level?
Yeah, sure. And I still do this to till this day. So I would say like at the end of each work day, I plan for the next day. I don't just wait until the next day comes around and I'm like, oh, what do I have to do? Like at the end of each work day, I'm like, okay, these are the things I accomplished. This is what I think went well. And this is where I want to focus my energy tomorrow. So I already write a list of things I want to do, or people I want to touch points with. And so that way I have a plan going into the next day. And then to the extent possible, it doesn't always work because like sometimes you go into the day and then things get thrown at you and you have to move things around a little bit. But at least it helps that you have a plan of things that you want to tackle the next day. And so I found that to be helpful. At least planning my day before the night before helped me at least start the next day with intention.